Hello and welcome to Mystic Visions. This is DrShiny with a general reading for Aquarius for March. So if you're an Aquarius, this is for you. This is my adaptation of a Celtic cross that I'll be using today. Let me know in the question or in the comment section if you have any questions. Please subscribe if you're not already. If you are a subscriber, I will be happy to draw additional cards specifically for you if you just ask me in the comment section. So if you're interested in that, please go ahead. Otherwise, this is more of a general reading, so this is not going to apply to everyone, and it certainly won't apply to everybody in the same way. So this is just a little bit more of a general reading than something so specific. So if you're interested in some cards for yourself, just go ahead and click that subscribe button, and I'll be happy to do it for you. Okay, so let's go ahead and get going for you. All right, this is current situation. What's crossing you? What you're moving away from, what you're moving toward, foundation, crowning thoughts. This is your advice, your current environment. This one is your fears. Move this over a little bit. And your overall message. Okay, very cool. So your current situation here is the Seven of Swords. So, I'm sorry, 7. That's the One of Swords. The One of Swords is, or the Ace of Swords, is the kind of the idea of a brand new idea, a brand new way of thinking. This is, something kind of hits you that you hadn't really, it's an epiphany, right? Something hits you, or you're being challenged to take a new type of thought process. You may have come from an example or from an environment where people resolve their differences through, getting in a fist fight, and now you have to move into a more professional environment where you have to have some sort of tact when you have disagreements with people. So that's a new way of thinking, right? That's an example of that. This could be that, like, all of a sudden you realize something and you have taken sort of a different approach to life, or that you think that something else is more important, right? But a new way of thought, whatever that is. Now, what's crossing you, or, challenging you in this situation, is this Nine of Wands. Now, in the Nine of Wands, and I'll put it up here where you can kind of see it a little bit better, this guy he's been through some things. He's seen some things, right? And there's a little bit of a hesitance, or, he's been damaged, he's been hurt, so he's a little suspicious. He's a little bit not willing to go down that road again. So you could be a little bit hesitant here, even though you have this new idea. Seems like this energy kind of, covers it up a little bit, or tries to stifle it, where you're a little bit resistant to going forward down that path because, you've been hurt before, or things have not worked out in the past, and you're not so keen on just jumping into a new situation and having trust, right? What you're moving away from is the Magician in the reverse. And this is kind of saying that, like, you in the past have had a little bit of a difficulty manifesting, or, creating the reality that you want, or that you desire. And so you're moving away from that. So through this situation, you're sort of learning how to manifest what you really want, or your true desires. And that's cool. That's a wonderful journey to be on. But what you're moving toward is the Wheel of Fortune. Okay, so through this process of becoming better at manifesting your will or your desires, there is a little bit of I don't want to say a challenge or like a hiccup, but there's something that you kind of have to learn. And this is what you're moving toward. And that is that everything sort of obeys certain laws. Okay, so the whole universe, things appear sometimes kind of random, or there's the Wheel of Fortune, right? And it seems like it could kind of land anywhere. But everything, even that wheel, is based on certain principles. And so in order to manifest, you have to have a sort of intimate knowledge of these laws, the way that the universe is actually behaving. So I'm going to take the opportunity right now to introduce you to something called like the law of attraction, right? So if you're interested in manifesting your desires, do a little bit of research into the law of attraction, but it goes something basically like this. Whatever it is that you're focusing on all the time, you are sort of programming your subconscious, and that's the part of you that's not your thinking mind, but you know, everything else that's not just right on your mind. You're programming your subconscious by controlling your focus to achieve certain goals or to seek out certain experiences. So you're doing yourself a favor if you are focusing on what you want rather than what you do not want. See, a lot of people don't even realize they go around all day focusing on the things that they don't want to happen, and through almost, it feels like self-fulfilling prophecy, those things tend to happen, right? So the idea here is if you're trying to manifest things, you're going to want to make sure you keep your focus on the things that you want. And that's one such law that you may be in the process of learning, or something that you have to figure out in this. Now, the foundation of your reading today, or the basically what brought this about, what is being taught to you through this scenario or situation, is the Page of Wands, but it's in the reverse. Okay, so this is to say, you know, the page is kind of like a childlike energy. This is somebody who's interested in willpower and getting things done, and has sort of a doing mentality, but he's a little bit immatured here, so he doesn't really understand often the best way to act toward a particular goal or desire. So a lot of times the things he does are not very effective, or he can tend to kind of shoot himself in the foot. You know, it's that 2 steps, or 1 step forward, 2 steps back type of a thing. So you're learning how not to do this. You're learning to mature that a little bit, and how to really get things done, and to kind of like knock it out of the park every time, right? Now what's on your mind is the 7 of Swords, but it's in the reverse. So there is, this is interesting because, you know, really, spiritually, you have a tremendous ability to manifest your desires, to make whatever you want occur. You know, the only thing that stands in your way is you, and this is evidence of that here. With this being in your crowning thoughts, this is resisting the need to like get away with something. So one of the things that happens here is people have the ability to achieve their dreams, but they never go down that road because some part of them doesn't feel like they believe or that they deserve it. So in other words, there's some latent programming, probably happened when you were a kid. Maybe your parents taught you that you really have to work for everything and nothing comes easy. And so you've kind of kept that in your subconscious, in the back of your mind, and you think, well, this has to take me years and be really difficult to achieve. But those are self-limiting beliefs. They're not necessarily true, right? So this is, you know, a feeling like, I don't want to cheat, I don't want to get away with it. And so it may be that you've just got to kind of adjust your attitude and not so much think of it as cheating, but think about it as your sort of your birthright and your real power that others have tried to convince you is not real, so that they can in some ways like control you or use your will for their own selfish desires, right? So what we have for your advice is this Queen of Cups in the reverse. So she's typically, you know, in the upright, she's, and this is the card I'm talking about, she's typically really good at controlling her emotions, keeping, you know, not having like extreme emotional outbursts or not being controlled by her emotions, but she kind of uses them effectively. But in this case, with it in the upside down, this can mean that you've been perhaps a little prone to like letting your emotions get the best of you and not utilizing them in a efficient or effective way, but instead they're kind of like dragging you down a little bit. Now that doesn't mean to get rid of your emotions. It doesn't mean for you to suppress your emotions. It means that rather than just doing like the first thing that your emotions make you feel like you want to do, sometimes you're supposed to, there's definitely something that you're supposed to know from those emotions. Your intuition is kind of speaking to you. But, if you're a person like me, personally, I'll have a very, very strong emotion, but it's not necessarily pointing to a very, very strong thing, right? So my emotions overreact. And so I will have to kind of turn it down a few notches to get an accurate reading on my intuition, because it's just like it comes through at 11. And, when I was younger, that manifested itself as like a really bad temper. But now that I'm older, I no longer really have the problem with the temper as much. And I've learned how to kind of attenuate how severe my feelings are. And now it's just like they're very accurate. They're very, like, I have a very good intuition. I know when somebody is, trying to do me wrong and things like that. But it's all about kind of a balance and understanding your particular emotions and figuring out a way for them to serve you instead of like hurting you all the time, right? Now your environment, you have this Ace of Cups in the reverse. And so this can mean there's some emotional suppression. So being in your environment, this is not necessarily, or probably not talking about you, but the people around you, perhaps the people who raised you, the people you grew up with, had some degree of not allowing emotions to, exceed the predictable. They always wanted to be able to control how they feel. They weren't willing to kind of flow with those emotions. And this may have been one of the reasons that you have a little bit of trouble with emotions yourself. And that can interfere also with your powers of manifestation. Now, let me show you something about this card real quick here. Let's go up here. This magician here, he has a coin, a cup, a wand, and a sword all on his table here. That represents a mastery of all four elements in a balance. And so he has to also master those emotions to be able to manifest effectively. So this could be an additional challenge for you, particularly if there are not a lot of people who are very good at it around you, because you become like those that you're around whether you want to or not. They rub off on you, Now, what you are afraid of, or your fears card here, is the Moon in the reverse. And this can really indicate you're afraid of the unknown. You're afraid of, your intuition telling you some bad things, or, having a creepy surprise come up on you. So there can be a sort of a trepidation about going new places or trying new things. But what I would say about that is, if you've always done the same thing and you're always doing the same thing, then why would you expect a different result, right? So you have to try new things. You have to alter your methods in order to come to a new result. So ask yourself, has it been going right? Has it been going the way that you wanted it to? And if it has, well, then that's a pretty easy way for you to figure out that you need to keep doing that. But if it hasn't been going the way that you want, then it's a pretty clear indicator that you have to try something you haven't tried before. And it's amazing how simple that sounds when I say it, but we don't think about it in the moment. We just keep trying the same old methods and wonder why it doesn't work out, right? Now, the overall message or the overall outcome is the Three of Swords. This is a little different than everything else. It's a little bit tough to tie this in, because the Three of Swords generally represents a sort of like a heartache, or it can be kind of a regret, but not so much a regret. It's kind of like, you come up to a fork in the road, and there's a way for you to go, but if you take that road, then you're having to leave behind the other road, and it could be that the other road had some really good times down it as well. So the question I think here is, when manifesting or when making your dreams come true, you can do it. You can do it through the hard work and kind of torturing yourself, but you don't have to do it that way. You can take a sort of more easy way too. But the question is, in the long run, which of those is going to fulfill you, right? So another way of kind of fulfilling your desires is to get rid of those desires. And that sounds a little counterintuitive to some people, but it's like, if I really, really want to be a famous actor, I can either work toward that, or if I don't feel like I can give up those desires. Wouldn't be good to keep those desires and to never do anything about them. That's what's going to end up in sort of heartbreak. So it's, one way or the other, you have to kind of figure out this problem, because if there are desires in there, then you have to either do something about those desires, get rid of them, or achieve them, or pursue them at least, right? There's no shame in not achieving something that you tried to pursue, but this is, I think, a question is being asked of you with this card, more than saying that you're like destined for some sort of heartbreak. But the idea is that if you're not doing anything, and if you're kind of afraid to venture out of your comfort zone, then you almost are always going to be guaranteed that you're, lying on your deathbed, you're not going to be happy with the choices that you made if you never really stepped out on a limb. And it's like, if you're really searching for security and all that, why would you just sort of, for your whole life, just look after security so that you can make it safely to your deathbed? It doesn't make any sense. But a lot of people get convinced that that's the way to do it. And I don't know. It's not for me. But anyway, that's about it for your reading today for March for Aquarius. And again, if you are a subscriber, please, I'd be happy to draw some extra cards for you if you just ask in the comments, and let me know what you thought. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.